You ever come home after a brutal day, just looking to kick off your boots, maybe crack a beer and watch the sun dip behind that old oak tree you basically grew up under and instead? You see a piece of paper duct taped to your front gate, flapping in the wind like it's announcing your public execution? Yeah, that was my Tuesday. Big red letters. Final notice, immediate eviction. From my own damn ranch. The place my granddad left me. The one I've paid taxes on since I was barely old enough to sign my name. The one with tire ruts for my daughter's first pony. At first, I thought it had to be some kind of joke, right? Or maybe a mix-up like the water company left it by mistake. But no, it was the HOA, all official. Some new president named Denise, who get this had only lived in the area 6 months, decided my place didn't fit the community aesthetic. Apparently because I don't use beige gravel and I've got horses instead of some robot lawnmower. I'm standing there, wind kicking up dust, holding that flimsy notice and thinking, is this for real? Oh, it was real, all right. What Denise didn't know, what nobody bothered to check, was that I own my land free and clear, and even more than that, I leased the HOA their own precious clubhouse and their beloved parking lot. I'm not saying I had them by the horns, but let's just say sometimes the guy you try to run off the range is the same guy who's been holding your lease for years. Now, I've been here more than 25 years. 14 acres of open sky, 3 stables, a pond fed by a spring you could drink from hell. Most folks can't even see my house from the road unless they're looking for it. That's always been the point. It was quiet out here, just me, the horses, and sometimes my daughter's music echoing from the barn. Then came the neighborhoods, popping up like mushrooms after a storm. One day it's all cattle and mud. The next it's boxes lined up in neat rows, regulations about how tall your mailbox should be and what color your drapes can't be. At first I didn't mind. Live and let live, you know. But then they decided they couldn't live with me. The first time I heard from the HOA, it wasn't even a person, just a letter slipped in my gate. Said my barn was a visual disturbance. That's how I found out Denise was in charge. She had that energy, you know? Clipboard always ready, little yappy dog tucked under her arm, hair sprayed so stiff you could bounce a nickel off it. Complaints started coming in waves. Too many trucks in my driveway. Horses too noisy. Fence not up to regulation. I wasn't even part of the HOA, just happened to border my land. But Denise was on a mission, and I was apparently a blight on her suburban utopia. I tried to be civil, honest, invited her for lemonade, said we could talk it out. She brushed me off, sent code enforcement my way, hit me with 3 citations in 1 week. And then the eviction notice. That's when things got interesting. The following week, chaos. I had HOA volunteers at my fence with tape measures, like they were laying out the new Berlin Wall. There was Ted, who'd once asked if his niece could get married on my land now. He's snapping photos of my barn like I'm running an illegal casino out of it. They flagged my old mailbox solid oak, hand-carved by me, and my dad said it didn't meet community guidelines. Fined me $1,200 for landscaping violations, because wildflowers apparently don't count as native plants if you didn't buy them from the HOA's approved vendor. I ignored them, figuring they'd get bored and move on. Instead, my trash stopped getting picked up. Turns out, the HOA controlled the waste contract and just dropped me. They were boxing me in, one rule at a time. Came home one day to find a big community development banner zip-tied to my front gate, complete with a Photoshop rendering of a model home where my barn stood. I laughed so hard I nearly choked, but then I called my lawyer. Turns out, the HOA filed a claim saying my land had been absorbed into their jurisdiction after some redistricting error. They were going to try and take my ranch through paperwork. But they forgot one thing: the land their clubhouse and parking lot sits on. Still mine, always has been. Years ago, I leased it to the original developer for $1 a year, just to be neighborly. That lease had a little clause buried deep: if the HOA ever changed how they used the land, I could revisit the terms and jack up the rent. So I did just that. Sent a formal letter to Denise, effective immediately. Rent was now $6,500 a month, $15 per car per day to park, and HOA volunteer vans counted. They laughed until the new signs went up: private parking, pay at kiosk. I hired a security crew to enforce it. Next, I gave 30 days notice to terminate the clubhouse lease due to breach of goodwill. They panicked. Denise started blowing up my phone. I let it ring. Cheryl, another board member, stopped by with some cookies, trying to negotiate. I told her I'd consider it if they withdrew every bogus complaint, apologized, and removed Denise from the board. They refused. So I blocked off the back lot there, only overflow parking, put up hay bales, let my 2 alpacas graze there for fun. The next HOA meeting, nobody could park. Security wrote 19 tickets. That's when neighbors started coming around, some with homemade pie, saying thanks for putting Denise in her place. Turns out, folks weren't as thrilled with her as she thought. Denise threatened to sue, but my attorney had already countersued for harassment, defamation, and property interference. Honestly, by this point, I was calm, almost having fun. I still have my ace left. On the day of their big Summer Gala event, where they were unveiling the new Together in Order community motto, a clubhouse was locked. I changed the locks at midnight, contractually allowed. Denise showed up in pearls and heels, storming around like she owned the place. "This is sabotage," she screamed. I handed her a copy of the lease termination. "Nope," I said, "this is property rights." Guests milled around, the lot blocked by cones, 2 alpacas glaring from the fire lane. Then Sheriff Dugan, who used to fish with my dad, rolled up. "Everything all right here?" Denise started reciting legalese, but Dugan just held up a copy of the lease. "Ma'am, this land's his. Clubhouse too. Parking as well." Denise went white, then red, then just silent. Somebody in the crowd hollered, "Who's evicted now?" I just tipped my hat, walked back inside, and watched through the screen door as Denise's kingdom crumbled. It was better than any TV. She resigned 2 days later. The HOA dropped every claim and started paying full rent, on time, every month. They even changed the sign now. It says Community Hall courtesy of the ranch. The alpacas are still there, crowd favorites. I named one Denise. Couldn't resist. Here's the truth, I never wanted to fight. I just wanted to be left alone. But sometimes, peace means drawing a line. So if you ever find yourself up against a bulldozer HOA, remember this. Know your rights, know your boundaries, and never lease land without reading the fine print. What would you have done if you were in my boots? Drop a justice served in the comments if you're still here, and tell me. What would you have done different? Because the next time someone tries to evict a cowboy from his own land, well, maybe remind them that not every fence is meant to be crossed.